whole time. Tick, tick, boom. Who bringing the noise? Go baby, we bringing our toys. Separate men from the boys. Chopper be singing, she'll be on the voice.
Welcome to Book Time with Ryan. I am Ryan, and today I'm doing the book acquiring tag. I saw this on Bill Rutenberg's channel. I wasn't tagged, but then I was like retroactively tagged by Bill after I said that it was a really cool tag. So I'm going to take it. That means I'm not going to tag anybody specifically at the end of this. So if you like this tag is going around, consider yourself tagged if you like it. If you don't have to be tagged. That's the freedom that we enjoy here at Book Time with Ryan. I'm going to look down at the prompts, and I will include these prompts down in the description. Number 1, do you plan your book purchases ahead or impulse buy? Both. I have some books that I plan ahead, and I also have some impulse buys. Although I will say that because of the kind of books I read, I don't have very many impulse buys. If I know a book's coming out, if I've seen an ad for a book that I want, then I'll plan to go get it when it comes out or when it's available. Rarely, and this is probably mostly comic books that this is true of, I will do an impulse buy. But I would say I'm more of a planner than an impulse buyer for books. Number 2, how do you decide what books to buy? Well, I give in to the social pressures. I like to give into all of that money that's spent on marketing, and I let it influence me subliminally. Well, it depends. For my business, economics, and finance books, a lot of those books I purchase based off of references from other books to future books, or I buy based off of subject area. That might be financial crisis, or a specific company, or a specific event, or a specific agency. It's really hard to narrow down the specifics here and now, but often I will read one book and that book will prompt me to look up other books in business, economics, and finance. You know what? That's also partially true for the books I've read about whales. I would read a book and then it would reference some other scientist's work, and then I would look up that work. And it's amazing how quickly that multiplies the number of books you have. For fictional books, I think usually it's based off of the author, or for some books, it's based off of recommendations. I will find an author that I like, someone will recommend an author that I'll appreciate, and then I'll just look up future books if I like their reading. So there's a lot of that. Most of the books that I have where I've purchased multiple books from one author, it's because I like the first work I read, and I just kept buying after that. Number 3, what is your philosophy on where you shop? Online versus in person, large versus small, physical, digital, or audio, new versus used? I wouldn't really say it's a philosophy. It's really just a convenience. I live near a Barnes & Noble, so I will go to the Barnes & Noble just to look around sometimes, although I'm on a book buying ban or buying freeze. It's going to be a while. I went today. Online or in person. I prefer in person, but for some books, they're really only available online because either they're obscure or they're rare and only certain places have them for a price that I want to pay. Large versus small, I'm fine going to Barnes & Noble. I don't have a problem with that. I love going to bookstores where you can find little treasures, but that's harder and harder to do. I did find one called Riverbee Books down in Fredericksburg, Maryland. We had one where I live that closed during the pandemic. I was really bummed about that. We also have a McKay's, which is kind of almost like a mix. It's pretty big, but it's not. And I guess it's a chain because I've seen it in multiple places in multiple states. But I don't have a problem going to a large place or a small place. I do prefer physical books. I don't have a digital player of any kind, like a Kindle, and I don't really like audio, although I've bought a couple for car rides. New versus used, this actually came up in a prior tag. I like new, or at least I like books that are of a quality that's close to new. But a lot of the books that I buy, just because of their age and their obscurity, I have to buy used. I just prefer to buy the best quality used book I can. Number 4, what about little free libraries? What do you think about them? Have you used one? Why or why not? My mom actually started a little free library for her community, and I was given one of my most special books. They hid it in the library and they went to check it, and these two books of The Purple Land, The England Lost were there, which for a second I thought I was just really lucky, and then I realized they planted it. I have used little free libraries, but not often, just because I don't read everything, and I have to get lucky. But I will check also. My work has when we were in the office, my work has a book exchange area, and I have found books there that I've exchanged. Number 5, how do you feel after acquiring a book? Do you share, like in a book haul or diary? Are people doing diaries? Are people talking about books they buy in diaries? I don't know. I'm not allowed to look at people's diaries, right? Because it's private. You got to know boundaries. I've done maybe a couple book hauls. I've done some unboxings because I don't buy a lot of books at once. I feel good. I think it's a diminishing return kind of thing when you buy something. You feel good, and then the high goes away, and you feel like you need to buy something else. So there are books that I really enjoy. There are books that I've found that I felt really good about eventually locating. I really think during COVID, I have felt the need to buy more things to kind of fill in the fact that we're not going out and doing things. It's almost like if you're not able to go out and experience things, bring the things to you. And generally, the only way to do that is to buy. I guess you could rent. You could go to the library and check it out, but I like having my books here. Number 6. How do you feel looking at your books that haven't been read? Does it matter if it's currently a lot or a little amount? I like looking at my books. Sometimes I lay here and I just gaze at them and I think about if anything's crooked. Like that right there, it kind of looks crooked to me, but I don't know if it's just the angle. There's a book in there. I will look at the arrangement of my shelves sometimes. I think like in my mind, I picture this being a room that people will visit and want to look through my books. No one's done that. Or no one's really done that. But in my mind, that's what this room is. This room is a very impressive library. It's just, we don't have very many people in our house. I don't worry about books, unread books or read books. Because of the way I read, because I will read books that reference other books, I will purchase those books ahead of time. So generally my purchasing outpaces my reading rate. I don't get too worked up about that. Because I've had now a couple buying freezes, that has allowed me to get through a number of the books that I guess would be on TBRs, but really if I have a book, I'm assuming I'm going to read it eventually. So I don't get too worried about it. I do like reading books though. I feel some kind of sense of accomplishment after I've read it. But I don't feel a whole lot of dread looking at unread books either. How do you decide what number of unread books is the right amount? I don't. That would be ridiculous. I have a certain amount of room on my bookshelves. You can see I'm very close to maxing out that room. Honestly, like I really only have this space right here where I can move the globe forward a little bit, and there will be more books that can move over there, and I have 2 spaces here. A little bit of space if they're comic book related over there. But that's really the limiting factor, is just space. And I'm not gonna stack books other places either. So at some point I may have to make tough decisions, but I don't have like a TBR cart where I'm looking at 10 or 15 books that I'm lining up to read. I've either read it or I haven't read it, and they're all mixed together. The way I read, I kind of read in cycles where I'm into something. I just read a book about dirty money called Kleptopia, and my wife got me a book called Winter is Coming about corruption in Russia and Putin's rise to infamy. So that's kind of like I'm in that zone now. I've done it with whales. I'll do it with certain concepts in economics, finance, or business, but that kind of determines how I'm going to read. Sometimes it's an author I want to get through, or if it's a series, getting through that series. I do have a Nick Harkaway book, Namanon, there that I'm going to read soon. And then I also have the book about bees called Buzz that I'm going to read in the next couple months. So, but that's a pretty loose planning ahead approach. Number 8, do you have a TBR game or process for reading them? Well, I just kind of ruined that, didn't I? I don't have a TBR game. I don't have a TBR. I'm a pure mood reader. That mood can be influenced by other things I've read and can turn into almost like a themed read, but it's not something I've planned. It's just something that organically happens. You've seen it through my interest in whales. You'll see it with some economic concepts when I get to it. There's not like a planned process for that. It just happens. Number 9, do you have a book buying problem? If so, what is the nature of it? And can it be adjusted? If I say no, I don't have a book buying problem, does that mean I'm in denial? I don't buy a lot of books. I have a lot of books, and I have gone through periods where I've bought a lot. I've bought a number of really pretty expensive books, and that has tempered the amount that I've bought outside of that. I do read my books, but I could probably stand to buy at a slower rate than I read. I'm kind of getting there, but there's a lot of books that I haven't read yet. Is it a problem? I got the money to do it. We got the space. My wife knows I'm interested. It's a problem if she gets tired of it, it becomes a danger. I'm neglecting other things, and we're not there. So I don't think it's a problem, but I could see it being a problem if it's all I did. Which is also kind of my casual approach to book too. I do other things. Like I have other things in my life that I have to deal with. So it's not going to take it over. This is not my job or my life. This is just a side thing that's fun. Number 10, tag 2 or 3 others to ponder their book buying process. I've already said I'm not going to tag anybody, but feel free to do this if you haven't. I know it seems like a lot of people are doing it right now. So you can too. You are free to. I give you permission, but you don't have to. Do whatever you want. Number 11. This doesn't seem like a question. Know you are awesome just as you are. Being a book lover is amazing. Well, that's cool. You should know that too. You are awesome just the way you are. Whether you do this tag or not, whether you buy books or not, whether you read them or not, or listen to them, or just collect them, whatever it is, you're awesome. So feel better about yourself. It's a rough time for everyone. And I think we got to kind of remind ourselves that we're doing okay. All right. I will see you later. I hope you enjoyed this. Try it out yourself if you haven't done it already. I'd love to see what your book acquiring tag would look like. So thanks. Bye.
Tick, tick, boom.
You can't stop me, so who gon' stop me? You can't stop me, so who gon' stop me? You can't stop me, so who gon' stop me? You can't stop me, so who gon' stop me?
We be disturbing the peace. Working, we serving the streets. About to go in beast. Bang, bang, leave you sleep.